Hello, welcome back to Walk with Neil, the series where I talk through tech, team dynamics, and leadership strategies. Today is a pretty chilly and overcast day here in Brooklyn, and there's a lot of foot traffic, so bear with me. This is the second part of a two-part series, and it's on the topic of external staffing. In the first video, I broke down the differences between staff augmentation, consultants, and outsourcing, what each model actually means, and when to use them. If you missed that video, check it out on my feed. Today, in part two, we're going to go deeper into team augmentation, how to do it right, and how to protect your internal culture and what to look for in a strong staffing partner. I'm Neil Bay. I work as a fractional CTO, and I also step into interim or full-time tech leadership roles when companies need help scaling their teams or leveling up their engineering strategy. Let's start with, what is team augmentation? At its core, team augmentation is about bringing external professionals into your engineering team, not to sit outside and hand you deliverables, but actually integrate and operate within your team, attending your stand-ups, following your sprint process, contributing directly to your code base in partnership with you, similar to your full-time staff. The difference is that you manage their day-to-day work, but their career path, HR support, and the long-term development is handled by the agency that placed them. Let's talk about what it really means to do team augmentation right, because just plugging in people isn't really enough, and doing it wrong can cause more friction than value. Let me break it down. Number one, pick a vetted partner, not a resume mill. Some firms keep a bench of engineers that they've worked with and developed over time. They know their strengths because they've invested in their growth and they have relationships with their staff. Others, they're basically linked in with a sales team, either pulling in unvetted candidates and just passing them through to the clients. You shouldn't have to be the one discovering gaps once they're already on your team, but it happens. You should be asking how long they've known their engineers, asking how do they vet them technically, asking how often do they work with their staff. I mentioned one advantage of team augmentation in my last video, but if you're bringing in offshore staff that are more experienced than your onshore team, it's a chance for exposure and growth. Your full-time staff has an opportunity to learn from the experience of these new additions. That's a big win for everybody. Number two, start small. Test before scaling. A quality partner will be confident in their talent, and they'll often let you trial a consultant before you commit to scaling a team around them. This is a chance to evaluate more than just skills. You're checking for communication, code quality, responsiveness, and also cultural fit. If you wouldn't hire them full-time or trust in a recommendation based on a trial, don't keep them in an augmented role just because it's convenient. Number three, time zone alignment matters more than you think. If you're augmenting with offshore talent, don't just optimize for price, optimize for working hours overlap. Most companies accept the hit to productivity, or they're mainly pursuing offshore staffing for 24/7 coverage. Though in cases where onshore and offshore are reliant on each other, things can fall apart. Let's say a pull request sits unreviewed for 18 hours, or when a bug blocks progress and the person responsible in another time zone is asleep. Make sure your partner can provide real-time overlap and is willing to build in extended hour support, especially during critical project phases. I've personally had commitment to 2 p.m. latest from offshore teams, not in a similar time zone. Number four, look for behind-the-scenes support. One of the most overlooked value propositions in team augmentation is the account rep. A great agency will have someone regularly checking in with their consultant and with you. They'll catch small issues before they become big ones. They'll keep the consultant motivated and aligned. Think of them as your unofficial people manager for that resource and the teams themselves, as you may get additional feedback that you might not be hearing from your own teams. And lastly, number five, maybe the most important element, is to be transparent with your team. Explain what augmentation is and explain what augmentation isn't. Share why you're doing what you're doing and how it supports the broader team. Because if you leave it vague, your team will write their own version of the story, and that's almost always worse. that brings me to a quick story that stuck with me. A few years ago, I rolled out a thoughtful team augmentation plan with senior leadership. On paper, it was exactly what was needed. My internal team panicked on hearing the news of offshore. They were thinking they were all going to be replaced. At the time, I didn't think I had to clarify the strategy because I didn't understand that they weren't aware of that concept. So I won't leave you hanging on the outcome. I called an emergency team meeting, explained the team augmentation concept, and end result is the team accepted it. And we scaled out a process that eventually got both full-time and offshore working together in unison. That experience reminded me that strategy is only half the job. The other half is communication. You can have the right model, the right people, and the right plan. But if your team doesn't feel safe and included in the process, you're going to have challenges. Why does all this matter? This isn't just about plugging gaps. How you introduce external team members and who you partner with and how you integrate sends a strong signal about how much you value cohesion, clarity, and long-term success. When augmentation works, it's pretty seamless. You get more done faster, and your external talent actually strengthens the org. This is the kind of thing I help companies implement, setting up strong blended teams, choosing the right partners, and managing both the delivery and the psychology of scaling. If you're in this position or you're heading there, reach out. I'd love to talk through it. That's it for today, and this is just one perspective. If you've seen augmentation done really well or really poor, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's learn from each other. If this helped you think differently about team augmentation, give it a like, a share, or just a good old-fashioned comment. So more walks, more stories, more strategy to come, and I'll see you next time on Walk with Neil.